Okay.
Chaim Tov Mishal.
No, we're going to record this here too.
Okay.
All right, what did we say we wanted to talk about?
We're going to live the episode because.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
How do we make it seamless?
Oh, that's the editor's going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Okay, listen.
Are you not editing yourself?
No, I did a thing with a guy where he's coaching me on how to do this, and he's editing the first 5 episodes.
That's awesome.
We'll see. A guy out in Neriah, right next to where Rav Micha. Rav Micha lives in.
Sure.
Nachlia. Neriah is also like crazy. Anyways, the Chaim.
Chaim. Oh, we get a voice note.
Yeah.
Chaim, speaking on the Chaim too.
Chaim, wow.
I like gin.
Now some gin.
Gin. It's not vodka.
All right. Well, I'm here with Chaim David's of Prohibition Pickle. Let's. Prohibition Pickle, by the way, is reviving Ashkenazi food.
I just want to say, for the record, I don't have a voice outside of like my social media posts. It's Prohibition Pickle in the singular. Stop saying Prohibition Pickles. It pisses me off.
People actually say it in the plural?
People like I work with.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I had a guy that worked with me for months, and he kept on saying Prohibition Pickles. I'm like, dude, you're not representing me properly.
So tell me what we're eating. What is this? What is this?
So this is our special. We call it the Shtetl Reserve. That's about as Yiddish as we get. Remember, we talked about the whole like guys and but the truth is that I kind of steer away from the whole like Babi Zaidi. We're using those flavors and but something else because I'm not such a Yiddish kind of guy. I'm also from Baltimore.
Right.
And sorry, New Yorkers have like a certain they hold the key. There's like a rite of passage.
They hold the key ring with a lot of keys in it.
That's like your real machram when you got a big keychain. And like, well, I'm from the Lower East Side. I'm from listen. Actually, the oldest oldest Jewish deli in the States, I don't think it's actually Katz. I think it was Atman's Deli in Baltimore City.
Whoa.
Look it up. I might be wrong, or check it out.
We'll look it
Baltimore
up.
has a crazy. There's a whole block called Corned Beef Row.
No
It's
way.
mostly like head shops now. I think it was a Jamaican neighborhood for a while. It's the hood. It's serious hood. But there was once a thriving deli culture in Baltimore City.
Do you know anything about that? Like, is there like?
Again, I'm just the guy who figured out how to make.
There's a
pickles.
place called Corned Beef Row.
Corned Beef
in
Row.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Where Jews.
You don't say corned beef row. You say corned beef row.
Corned Beef Row. Tell them what we're eating. What is this?
This is a full sour Shtetl Reserve Cornichon. So I mentioned earlier, and we were podcasting, casting pods. Can you say that?
Say whatever you want, bro.
That the local variety of cucumbers are quite difficult to master, especially when they get to the large size and the smaller pickle size are they don't really make it to market, and I haven't reached the type of scale. So we had a lot of issues with getting hold of good pickling cucumbers for a long time, and it was sad. I was throwing away like half a barrel post fermentation, turning into mush. We'd open a barrel after like a week, and like pickles were obliterating our hands. This is we figured it out, by the way. A little bit of calcium, strong for your bones, strong for pickles, and it's a natural.
Pickles are good for you.
Calcium chloride, and it's a salt. It also.
So this is like natural fermented stuff. This is actually good.
This is probiotic fermented, right? This is salt and spices and herbs, and we use spring water.
What's that mean for your gut, though? Do you know what it means for your gut?
Yeah, well, it balances the fluoride in your gut. You see, I'm gonna sound like a real idiot talking about it.
No, you can say I don't know.
This is what I read.
This is good.
Listen, probiotics are really good for your digestion. That's right. Yeah. And serotonin is also produced in your gut. So by eating probiotic foods, it will actually make you happier.
Nice.
There's a lot of depression, sadness, a lot of things are connected to your stomach. People that you feel like your stomach is twisting because you're feeling like you're not. So you walk into a room, your first day in school, and you're like, oh, my stomach hurts. Yeah. Eat a pickle, man. So these are super crunchy. These are cornichons.
Where did you get the cucumbers from?
I got these from this is a small Russian cucumber farmer on the border of Gaza Gaza in Egypt. We drove 2 hours south and about like 100 kilos of this. And there's small little lumpy guys that are traditionally used for the sweet French style of cornichon pickles. We're fermenting them. And this is the closest thing you get to a Kirby because the American all of them. I mean, I actually planted in my garden right now 4 varieties of hybrids, Boston pickler, national cucumber, whatever. They have nice thick skin, they're lumpy, super crunchy, not Israeli cucumbers, super finicky, and you know,
So these are like
these have a good crunch. These
good
are more
crunchy.
durable. They're more.
a rocket could have.
They're
fallen
very
on
not
these
Israeli.
cucumbers. A rocket could have fallen on these cucumbers.
I was less worried putting these into the barrel, but still, at the time and the investment of sourcing them and picking them up, you're hovering over these barrels for a week, and like you wait till you open. You don't just go peeking in there. You don't want to let bad bacteria in. So you have a hermetically sealed, 60-liter drum, and then you don't know what's gonna happen, and you have it on the menu. People are ordering it, and you're like, it's Tuesday. This better be the best effing pickles. I'm in a lot of trouble. I mean,
But this smells more than there's spices in here.
right.
And
Pickling spices, there's coriander, allspice, black pepper. We have there's 15 something ingredients go into this. There's a lot of bay,
It
dill,
also looks
garlic.
like there's a smoke ring. Like when you smoke a meat, right? You have
The bark.
that pink smoke ring. in
Pickle
the
bark.
And it looks like there's a smoke ring here. I don't know if you can see, but like,
Right.
it looks like there's a smoke ring.
The longer it sits, I think the pulp area will darken, the color will become more
So
consistent.
is this a half sour though?
This is the full sour.
Full sour.
This is full sour. And this is summertime. I don't have temperature control room. I can turn this over in 6 days. But these fermented for 9. And
Let's
they'll
crunch.
continue to develop and improve.
I'm just so excited to crunch. It smells so
This
good.
is a special pickle. If you ate this one first, you might be able to make a tova metiv. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'adama.
Man. Wow.
I should put a little screen over here. Might be.
No, it's okay.
That's gnarly, right?
Wow. Wow.
That's a good pickle.
That is. I've made pickles before. I've bought pickles before. That is like the nicestly textured pickle I've eaten.
Oh,
That's
we
incredible
had
texture.
it stepped over zero. Finish up. We get a good crunch out of
It's
our.
also it's also bumpy. What's the deal with the bumps?
That's
I see
the
other
variety.
pickles here are not bumpy.
Right. These are ribbed. These are long.
Does it make a difference on how it ferments? Like, why are those so crunchy and good to ferment?
Does it make a difference in the flavor?
Is it a
Yeah, I mean
farmer?
the bumps. I don't know if the bumps per se anything. It's just like that's the landscape of the pickle, but of the cucumber rather.
Landscape.
It's a cucumber first,
Do you think when God created cucumbers, he had pickles in mind?
probably.
The Jewish food, he probably.
Right.
Some
So must have the machshava tchila. Maybe they weren't supposed to be eaten as cucumbers. Like everybody's chopping up salad. He's like, that's not what you do with them. What a schmuck.
It was the first pickle was a prophecy actually. It came down from Shemaiah. And it was supposed to be a pickle. Okay, let me get a half
Well,
second.
everything was sort of an accident. Like the bears ate the apples off the tree that fermented, and they got drunk and wandered into town and torched it up, right? So, like,
And there are deer that eat mushrooms.
Wow.
And freaking hallucinate.
right.
And like
And they had PTSD, so they're all like, "Who's baby? My baby was shot."
there are beers there are also people there are also tribes that eat psychedelic honey. Or psychedelic, if I'm not mistaken. Either psychedelic or has the same reaction as like a cocaine type substance.
Lighters is going.
What?
Food is, it's got to be experiential.
Right.
By the way, pickles can get you seriously buzzed. Right when they come out of the barrel, there's something about. You ever tasted wine from a barrel, or had a piece of like Parmesan cheese, or whiffed it like right when the wheel was cracked?
I was never a chef in a winery in California, so no, I've never
Okay.
tasted wine from a barrel.
When the things are in their source, right? When they're in mass, and there's CO2 coming off of them, or like people talk about they gather around a wheel of Parmesan. You go to Basra and they're opening one up, and there's something happens. It changes,
Mhm.
right? When you open it up, and there's just a few minutes where it's like really kind of gnarly and exciting, and then it kind of mellows out. The pickle, when we open up the barrel, and there's like a layer of like funk on the top of the barrel of like this bacteria colony, all the probiotic goodness. It's just this. You see it also like falling to the bottom. It's just sort of
Right.
this white sludge.
But what gets you?
They're
what
just
gets you
microorganisms. So in the beginning, it's still like very gnarly and maybe even like bubbling a little bit. The fermentation beaker is going bloop, bloop, right?
Mhm.
And it's very effervescent and bright and lively.
Mhm.
It's very lively, and you eat it, and it's like that kind of permeates your face. Wow! It's like it does something to you, and you get that little pitter patter in your heart, like the first time you saw a girl you had a crush on. It's like that. It's like that. And then you put them in the fridge and crash, and everything sort of mellows out and stabilizes, and it's not the same. But there's a few minutes of magic. Also, like you open up a wine barrel and you put the wine in and you pour it in your glass, and it's so intoxicating.
Right.
It's different.
Smell it.
And then it goes in the bottle, and this bottle shock, and then mellows out. But if you really want to experience something, food it can be super experiential.
But it has to be
At
from
this
the source.
stage.
It has to be
Right then and there, right? You can't bottle that up. That's why people go to the Hearst potato chip factory, right? And when they're coming off the conveyor, and that's the most ridiculous potato chip you had in your entire life. When we were kids, that was like the classic Haredi school trip. We went to there was like all these from kids and then Amish. And we're all like in Pennsylvania in the potato factory. Oh, like, whoa, this is amazing, right?
We did Moshe when I was in Moshe Val. We did a Hershey Park and Dorney Park, and we went to Hershey Park. The whole freak, you're going on a roller coaster, and you get that chocolate whiff in your face.
Yeah, exactly. There's something at the source. I imagine it's like that. We drink water, glacier water.
Right.
My friend Abati, we took a trip back when my oldest was 9, she was a year and a half. We had her on our back, on the carrier. We went to Norway. We were on this fjord ride.
What ride?
A fjord.
What the hell is a fjord?
The fjords are the networks of rivers and channels.
Fjord with a J. Fjord.
Fjord, yes.
I think it's
fjords.
with a J.
That's what they call the network of water. You look at Scandinavia, the Gadol is there's no real land mass, right? There's tiny little islands and rivers. So you're talking about vertical 100-meter cliffs with crashing waterfalls all around you. And he floated the boat over to the edge, put his raincoat on, the yellow hat, and a bucket on a stick, goes over to the edge of the waterfall and catches this freezing cold glacier water and pours everybody a cup. And you've never had water more delicious in your life. It's kind of like that. By the way, speaking of fresh water, one of the things that make these so good is that we're using bottled water, we're using spring water. You saw in my stockpile of Maiden.
I thought you you loved drinking
We're
water.
thirsty, and we take care of our staff with premium bottled water. We have, many gallonim of spring water.
Nice.
We're growing bacteria. That's what the fermentation. It's not a yeast fermentation; it's a bacteria fermentation. You're growing healthy bacteria. So you need a sterile environment, you get the right conditions, the right level of salinity, salt, to grow this bacteria, lactic acid bacteria, lactobacillus acidophilus. Sorry if I said that wrong. Tap water is chlorinated. Chlorine kills bacteria. You need some. You want a healthy fermentation, you need spring water, and hence our stockpile in the bomb shelter.
So the pickling is an art. People screw it up at home all the time.
Yeah, you can't just throw it in a jar. There's a formula, but it is really simple. But figuring out how to scale it with the local, non-traditional pickling cucumber variety took some challenge. When I was doing this out of my house, do you remember when I started this as the home business?
Mm-hmm.
It was in my kid's bedroom. There was no beds in there. We converted it into a little workspace. And I remember the first time I went from jar to half barrel. It was a 30-liter barrel. And I knew that I needed a lot of tannin if I wanted crunch, because tannin are fermenting agents. Leaves have a lot of tannin. Mustard seeds have tannin. So bay leaves, grape leaves, whatever, leaves. I figured I would do a tea extract. And when you drink a cup of tea, that tea bag sat too long, and it's oversteeped, and your mouth is going like drinking a red wine.
Mm-hmm.
It's really astringent. That's what you want if you want to make sure your pickles are going to come out good. So I was taking 10 tea bags and squeezing it out, and then they get right.
You were fermenting in tea.
Yeah, even up until recently, until we figured out some new tricks, which I can't tell you on record because I'd have to kill you. Yeah, can you edit in some dum again?
Sound bites will come eventually. It's just the first episode.
One batch I was lazy. I tried the black tea, and I put the tea leaves in there. And I pulled them out after a week and a half, and my pickles were stained black. They were disgusting. And it was me at midnight, dragging this 30-kilo sack of funky pickles out to the dumpster, the walk of shame.
Right.
And I didn't want my neighbors to know what I was doing. This tassia going on in my place.
It's not Breaking Bad. You're not.
Peseda, whatever. That's how prohibition. That's why it was called prohibition pickle. Because
Right.
you're bootlegging. It's illicitly produced. So I think hauling them out. I probably could have done it at 9, but I waited till midnight because that's sketchier.
But you also do this with meat. You also cure meat. That's what
We do some meat
corned
curing.
beef. Corned beef is
Right.
cured meat.
Right. It's pickled beef.
like?
We're doing the pastrami and corned beef in-house and tongue. And also the beef jerky biltong, which is dry, not really the same, we're not brining it. But yeah, it's pickling for pleasure. It used to be just a necessity. There wasn't refrigeration and it was to weather the cold months. And now we do it just because we like it.
And it's healthy for you, and all the hipsters are doing it in those cookbooks now.
Right. But not the salt level. The
Right.
probiotics is really cool and that's great, but like, these are like 3% salt.
I would like to eat another pickle.
Right, so that right there is the half sour.
Okay.
Now, half sour or new pickle, right? There's a lot of different names for them.
How long does this brine for compared to the first one that you said?
I don't know how commercial producers do their half sours. Like you can buy them in a jar and they stay green, and that scares me. It took me a long time to develop this recipe. This last rendition was actually developed by previous chef Ariel.
Is it less salt?
It's a refrigerated pickle.
Oh,
It's
refrigerated.
actually not. It's not fermented. It's not probiotic. This is salt and spring water also, but there's also a little bit of vinegar. And it's more like a marinated cucumber.
This isn't good for my gut. It's not for me.
It's not bad for you
No,
guys.
it's not bad. It's not
No, this doesn't have those properties. And this is like 3-4 days. It's good to go, and we can sell it for like a week and a half. I don't know how they do it commercially. I'm not yet a whisperer.
I don't care if it's not good for my gut. It's by far my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Half sours has always been. I get that tingling at the back of my throat. Maybe it's just because I love it, but it's like the salt tingling. It's a little more salty.
And it's super fresh. It's like
I could down a whole jar of half sours, but I want to try a full
well,
sour.
you're taking that home with you. So.
But I want to try a full.
That's our classic full sours. So you'll notice a similar flavor
This is
profile.
fermented, but
Yeah, just like the Cornichon you had,
Mhm.
the same exact recipe. Although I find that the salt might be a little lower, the salt level, because they're more water based than the Cornichons. So the brine becomes a little more diluted
right.
post fermentation.
Those cornichons were definitely the most unique texture of pickle I've ever had. The half sours are just the best classic memory, nostalgic, triggering.
You should probably have a shot in between, because it's shot is.
I got it dry.
You can't have
Got it dry.
full sour, half sour in the same mouthful. You gotta take it.
Oh,
I haven't had this in a little while since well.
no.
That's nice.
Wow, the full sour was great. The full sour was great. It was incredible. Cutting it up into slices and served with meat, like as a side to a pastrami, as a side to a corned beef, is like the obvious pickle to go with. Is the full sour for me.
Right.
If I'm
I like the half sour more in sandwiches than the full,
Oh, okay.
personally. But that's why we're different.
That's sharing is caring. Love it. No, just being different is cool. So I have this cured smoked lamb bacon that I'm taking home that I'm very excited about. The first time you sold me some. I acquired some off the black market. I wrapped it. We were talking about fusion cuisine before.
Uh-huh.
I wrapped this bacon in dates.
Cool.
No,
Like a slice
I
of
wrapped
thin,
the
you roll
date-
the date, yeah.
I wrapped the date in bacon,
Mhm.
put it in the oven for 15 minutes, and brought it to the Urban Feast.
Fantastic.
So people were already in the right mindset, if you know what I'm
Next time
saying.
you throw some vegan feta cheese in there, people will be like,
It was a partying in the mouth. It was incredible.
yeah, it's fun, huh?
Date wrapped bacon.
That gamey, smoky, salty crunch.
Yeah, it was just it was a great way to open up the meal. Everyone was already pretty inebriated,
Yeah.
and it was just a surprise for everyone. Nobody knew it was coming.
Then half of who?
Steak and dates. So we talked about curing pickles, right? Curing meats. Anything else that's interesting that you cure? Like anything else that someone wouldn't think about curing or fermenting that would be interesting?
Oh, you can go.
Can you go Jewish kimchi, by the way, or is
Yeah.
Like, can
We
talk
had-
about that?
we had
Let's talk about things that other people cure that are really good, and like
That's
how
funny.
do we do it?
So again, that was the original concept to have like sort of a cure house. And then once we went Jewy, I wanted to make things more thematic. So we were doing a sauerkraut, I figured we'd do a kimchi. The original kimchi we're using anchovy sauce. Classic kimchi is, got all kinds of seafood in there. That was problematic.
Really?
I felt like I was putting a stumbling block in front of people because even though I advertise it as contains fish, we have a tradition not to mix fish and meat together.
Mhm.
And you're going having your pulled Korean barbecue ribs and you put the kimchi on there and there I did it. I made you like break tradition.
Heretic. No,
Yes.
but
So I dropped the fish sauce and I made it a little less funky and a little less spicy and we called it kimchi Ashkenazi. But
real kimchi, traditional kimchi has fish sauce in it?
lobster paste and yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure there are vegan varieties, but it really starts off as a what do you call it? Kufsini. Napa cabbage, right? Is that what you call it in English? Napa cabbage?
Mhm.
And they would make a really funky paste, like fish paste, shellfish paste, chili, spices, and instead of being shredded up like sauerkraut, you would have like these wedges or like spears of this cabbage, and they'd be rubbed down with this funky whatever stuffed into a jar and just left out to ferment, to rot, and embarrass our grandchildren.
They really like, yeah, but not anymore.